WXV is back for 2024 and it's bigger and better than ever, much like our preview show. Delighted to be joined by 2014 Rugby World Cup winner and Mastercard ambassador Maggie Alphonsi and USA captain, yes, it's Kate Zackary. How are you both? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'm very well, actually. I'm excited by the start of this tournament and I can't wait for the rugby action to get started.
I'm just trying not to blush sitting here next to someone who's so legendary here.
Love it. All right, well, we will be hearing from these two legends and stars very shortly. But first, some housekeeping. Australia and Wales are replaced by the USA and Ireland. Canada, well, they play hosts, and they, New Zealand and the USA, will each take on England, Ireland and France. In last year's inaugural edition, England went 3 from 3. So let's remind ourselves of the best of the action.
A revolution for women's rugby is underway. The world's top 6 ranked sides have converged onto Whanganui-a-Tara, Wellington, New Zealand, for WXV1, an annual new global competition. The footwork from Breach is excellent. The step and the weave and now the strength pops it back in field.
A little bit of footwork before silence. Open them up down the left edge. And a brilliant try from Team Canada.
1 point will do it as France exact their revenge on New Zealand.
Now the pick and go. Kapani gets a hat trick. What a day she's had.
WXV1 champions, world #1, world-class performers on a big occasion.
Well, as England won the competition last year, let's start with Maggie. Are they going to retain their title?
Good question. Listen, look, they've been unbeaten since 2022 when they played in the Rugby World Cup final and they lost to New Zealand. They're currently on a really good run. So if I'm truly honest, I struggle to see any team beating them. But look, under John Mitchell, they have started to play some really expansive, exciting rugby. We're seeing lots of their backs score more rugby tries now, which previously they weren't. And now they're just playing with some confidence. They have got some injuries though. So Meg Jones is currently out injured. She played in the Olympics out in Paris. Sadia Kabea is also out, a very influential back rower, and Kath O'Donnell as well, a second rower. So there are some key players missing. But at the same time, this England team are full of confidence and they're going to want to retain that title. So I do think they can do it.
Yeah, when you talk about John Mitchell there, of course, he's a coach that just came into the setup. He was observing through WXV last year before he got his feet under the desk. There's a similar story in terms of where the USA are sat because Sione Fukafuka was just getting his feet under the desk about 9 months ago, Kate. So it's probably time to give you your right of reply as we discuss the USA's chances.
Yeah, you know, Sione's just taken on the gig a few months ago. He's got a whole new staff, new forwards coach, new defence coach. So with that comes an exciting time, but it does come with a lot of changes, doesn't it? So overall, though, I think we found our stride. We've had a competition against South Africa earlier this year, 2 matches against Japan. Going into this tournament, I think we've got a bit of confidence, but you know, truth be told, it will be physically and mentally tough. That being said, I think each game we should hold our heads up high if we can stick to kind of our DNA, but as well as come out with some key things. So against England in that match, how well do we come away at set piece, etc.
And the USA had a couple of warm-up games last month where Tess Fury was stepping in as captain in your absence. We know that you're aiming to be back, but perhaps a good opportunity to have shared that leadership around.
Yeah, Tess has been in the setup since before the 2017 World Cup. She's a player that maybe you might overlook a little bit because she's a bit quiet, but she's a consistent player for us. Off the field, she's also a consistent leader. She's someone who really is the glue to the team, I think, and someone we rely heavily on. And so being able to share that role with her and see her kind of grow into it is exciting, and I think someone I'll need moving forward into this next tournament.
Now, New Zealand, they are the reigning Rugby World Cup champions, but they only got 1 victory in WXV1 last year. They are surely going to be eyeing up silverware this time round.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, New Zealand are quite a funny side. They always seem to turn up for the Rugby World Cups and they always seem to win it. But what they do in between tends to be where they have the lack of consistency and they tend to lose games. But you do feel going into this tournament, they will be building up to it. They're going to want to perform, and they've got key players returning. So Alicia Latiainga, who's come back from an ACL injury. The last time she played for New Zealand was in the Rugby World Cup final in 2022 and scored a crucial try that led them to win that World Cup. So she's going to be key. She's a big player, loves to like score tries, but also destroys players in front of her. So I really hope New Zealand do step it up for this tournament.
Caitlin Vaiakolo, another one of those young players who's come across from Rugby League, is looking to add a few caps to the tally there. As an average, I found that New Zealand players in that squad have an average of about 14 test caps. Something like the England team have 32. So this really is that sort of regeneration period for them.
Yeah, I think it's important. You've got that headline event. We all are always working towards the Rugby World Cup, but it's about what you do in the 4 years in between. And I think New Zealand's used their time wisely. They've taken the opportunity to cap a few players, get experience in their bench. And what I look forward to seeing is some of those players coming off onto the pitch, making a statement, and then preparing themselves for the big dance next year.
So what about France then? They claimed their first ever victory against New Zealand by a single point last year, but then lost to Canada and Australia, blowing hot and cold, chaud et froid. Will they be as predictably unpredictable as last year?
Oh, look, I hate sticking to stereotypes with France about, depends on what team that turns up. But unfortunately, it is true with the French women. They're an outstanding side, but sometimes against certain teams, they lift it. And then against others, they tend to pull back.
Yeah, and I guess they've been a bit unsettled. The likes of Grise, Drouin, Hermé, were they going to be in the squad? Were they not in those build-ups through those warm-up games? So, you want a settled side going into a World Cup year, don't you?
Yeah, you do. I mean, we say it over and over again, but when you go into a World Cup, you want to make sure that you know what your combinations are. You don't want to wait until the tournament actually kicks off before you go, who am I playing with? And actually, how do they play? So they need to use WXV1 for that. So I really do hope they start to nail down those players going into the tournament. And then I really hope they perform well, because we want to see a good French side play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to add, in their DNA is that unpredictability, which is what makes them exciting. They've got firepower a little bit everywhere. They've got the forwards, but most importantly, they've got a young 10, Lena Kewa, who I think will bring them some spark power.
OK, well, it was Canada who came runners-up to England in 2023. They also won this year's Pacific 4 Series, beating New Zealand in May. They are becoming real contenders on the global scene again.
Yeah, I think it's important to note of some of these teams in WXV1, New Zealand in particular, who they just beat, they're a team without contracts. So being able to go toe-to-toe, take away some huge wins like that against teams who have a bit more support financially and a bit more infrastructure is a big deal. It's going to play a massive role for them going to this tournament.
Yeah, and you've mentioned Sevens players before. Fancy Bermudez, I know, is going to be coming into this one. She's joined Saracens, where Sophie de Goody plays, but we know de Goody's out with that ACL injury in rehab club. She'll be a miss.
Most definitely. I mean, Sophie de Goody's been the linchpin of that team, hasn't she, for years now. But that being said, you've seen the likes of Tyson Bukaboom, who's now featuring over here for Ealing Trailfinders, a teammate of mine. I think you can rely on her to bring some of her leadership skill to help carry that.
And last but by no means least, Ireland, who finished third in that Women's Six Nations, which was a great result for them and got them the chance to come into WXV1 from WXV3. So quite the jump in class.
Yeah, for me, I think what's been a turning point for Ireland is they've got Scott Beeman, new coach, who came on board and he's very much taken what he's learnt from England to show what is good and how do we put it into practice with our players. They've created this culture. They've also got now centralised contracts, which is making a difference. I guess what's going to be key for Ireland now, they've lost some key players. Sam Monaghan is not available. But then again, they've got some very exciting players, and you were highlighting a few previously.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the likes of Aoife Wafer. I think we can all look back at that Six Nations campaign she had. She was dominant off both sides of scrum, whether she was at 6, 7, 8, carrying, defending, you name it, she did it. Turnovers. So I think you've got players like that, but you've also got the return of some more Olympians. Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe. How well will she go? She's been the 7 setup for a bit, but I think she could bring that speed and dominance for the team.
Yeah, and that experience of Cleona Maloney, who's back in the fold as well. So, yeah, plenty to look forward to for Irish fans, no doubt. OK, it's time for you to pick the players you think are going to stand out. I'll come to you, Maggie, first of all. Who's your player for WXV1?
Well, not being biased or anything, but I'm going to go to England. And it's a throw-up between two players. For me, it's either going to be Alex Matthews or Ellie Kildunn. And I'm actually going to go for a back. And I'm going to say Ellie Kildunn. Look, she was brilliant in the Six Nations, got Six Nations Player of the Year. She's been out in France with the Sevens. But I think she's going to come back and take it to another level again back in the 15s.
Okay.
That's only because you couldn't choose me.
That's because I couldn't. Obviously, yeah, because you were my number one, but my second choice, Kildunn.
Yeah, of course. For this round, I'm going to have to stick with my flankers because forward is life. And Aoife Wafer, again, I think she's still got a lot left in the tank after that Six Nations campaign.
Well, thank you both. And you can find out if Maggie's England is going to come out on top of Kate's USA in that match that takes place on Sunday, the 29th of September. That match available to watch on Rugby Pass TV, as are all the games across all of WXV.